Hello, everyone, and welcome back inside of Destiny, the Taken King. Nick here today with Degenerate Gaming. We're going to be doing another weapon review. I apologize for the delay as far as getting this out to you. I'm going to try to start pumping these out to you when I can. Had some things going on. Anyways, that's all, neither here nor there. Today, we're going to be reviewing the Zhallo Supercell, and as you can see, that looks like the goofy Bass Ackwards AK-47 that some little kid put together with the clip coming out of the stock. Uh, it is a nasty piece of a weapon, though, as far as PvE is concerned. Definitely one of my favorite guns to use. I love using this during the raid and strikes in general, basically everywhere. And I'll show you why here in a minute. We'll go over the perks and talk about this weapon here a little bit. And first thing I want to point out is when we look at these stats, it has an arc on a primary weapon. It is the only primary weapon that actually has a burn on it. As you can see, it is arc. You can kind of see the little lightning busting off the barrel and shit there, but it's just can't say enough as to how useful having a primary weapon with an arc is. I do not know why they got away from putting that on there. Probably just to make the game a little more difficult for everybody, as far as not using raid weapons and that whole mess. But that's a whole other story for a different day. If you look at these stats, though, you can kind of see it is your as it's not really your very high rate of fire where it's maxed out like a necrochasm and very low impact. It's probably that next tier down. I don't know the exact numbers on it, but you can see the impact's a little higher. It doesn't really have a whole lot of range. The stability is pretty decent. Quick reload speed and a really long magazine at 36. Passively unlocked, it has Zhallo Supercell, which says arc projectiles have the chance to chain lightning when enemies are close together. And this is a pretty cool perk to have. It does proc quite a bit, and that extra damage is nice, especially from the arc burn. You get like captains or other tier 2 enemies with shields that you got to deal with, like taking centurions. Very useful to have. Knocks down shields. A little bit of extra damage never hurt, especially talking about your primary. We have for sights, we have CQB ballistics, smart drift control, and aggressive ballistics. I'm just going to go over these real quick and then I'll show you guys what I use on mine. And then we have persistence, which is this weapon grows more accurate the longer it is fired. We have hammer forge for improved range and reduced accuracy. We have rifle barrel, which increases the range and drops the reload speed. We have brace frame, which really increases the stability but drops the magazine size. And we have bolts from the blue. Double kills with this weapon. Charge a small amount of super energy and return ammo to the magazine. So pretty useful perk. Really couldn't say exactly for sure how often it procs, but we'll look at mine, and I got mine out of a legendary engram that dropped at 310 for me. And as you can see, I'm running aggressive ballistics for that big buff to impact. I also persistence you're going to have is very useful. I don't recommend going brace frame on this just because if you really when you look if when you get this weapon and you finally unlock everything, you're going to go. I recommend that you play with this a little bit and set it on brace frame and look at your stability, see how it feels. Because to me, it really didn't seem like it was any different than running rifle barrel, with persistence and brace frame. I mean, this thing is going to kick a little bit. It is a very high rate of fire auto rifle, but the stability really isn't that bad to warrant dropping that magazine size for that extra stability. And as you can see, mine's even reduced because I'm running aggressive ballistics. And if you needed to, if you really don't like it that much, I would recommend going smart drift control before I drop that magazine size and go with brace frame. Because typically when you're using this, you're going to use this most of the time in PvE, I'm sure, like I do. That's where it's going to earn its money, and you want enough bullets in that magazine to clear a room as you're just chopping through enemies. And that's this thing is. This thing is just a chopper. Bolts from the blue, double kills with this weapon, charge a small amount of super energy. I can't, like I said, I can't really say to save my life how often this procs. I couldn't really tell you guys that. I can tell you that this does work. I have seen it from time to time, but it's one of those things where you don't really pay attention. And typically, when this thing, if you're just firing this thing into a crowd of enemies, you're going to get double kills quite a bit, especially with the chain lightning from the Zhallo Supercell. So definitely a very good PvE weapon. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in the gameplay. We're going to get into the daily mission here, and I'll show you guys some gameplay. Getting into some PvE gameplay here. You'll see this thing kicking some ass here. As you can see, you'll notice that it's super proccing on double kills as my super energy will be climbing up there in a hurry. Not so much here. There's another clip here in a minute as we go through this where a bunch of thralls are spawning coming at me. This is obviously part of the daily heroic for today. So if you don't have Black Spindle, you can go and get this. I tried helping a couple of my buddies get it. I actually already have it, so I didn't get a chance to go get it. But you can see my super is just flying up there. Excuse me. This is an awesome gun for PvE. I can't say enough good things about it. I use it everywhere. The raid, nightfalls, all over the place. And again, you'll see this chain lightning a little bit. No, not so much there. Can you get a good look at it? But it's definitely worth having. And here's this clip that I was talking about with the thrall. You'll really see my super bar going up there. You see some of the chain lightning there. And here as a mob comes, I'm going to back up a bit, let them run through the bubble. That's the super, you can just see that. I mean, literally in a matter of seconds, I'm almost halfway there, if not more. As you can see, that chain lightning just ripping them up. And I'm right there, I'm almost back at a super. And I didn't have my Helm of Saint 14 on like a dumbass, so really they weren't coming through blind, which I guess is kind of better. Now, and it's worth noting that I've ran this with AQB ballistics off, and or with that lower impact, whatever it is. I can't remember it now, but this is still a very solid weapon, even if you want to keep that extra stability and reload speed with your ballistics. I like it having more impact. Obviously, if we get into Crucible play, obviously if we get into Crucible play, that impact is going to help out a little bit. And you're going to want to have that. You may even want to have a little more stability, but we'll talk about that here in a bit once we get into a little bit of Crucible gameplay. And this thing, it mows people down. It's chopper. I love the look of this gun. It feels really good. You can really increase the stability. I don't really think it needs it. I think it's pretty stable when aiming down sights. Now, if you ever get the chance to play around with this thing, just try hip firing this thing and letting it go without your thumb on the stick there, and you'll see how wildly inaccurate this thing could be. But looking down the sights, it's a very solid weapon as far as stability is concerned, and it's a very good package. Kind of see a little chain lightning going there. Now, this is only at 240 light, but it performs pretty well throughout most PvE activities.
Gauge and execute all
we'll get into some PvP gameplay, and I really think that this weapon could be good in PvP in the Crucible, but the problem is that, you know, auto rifles really just kind of are still really not that good in Crucible. I don't care what anybody says with all the buffs and everything. The time to kill with these things is really just, it's not up there good enough, you know, especially with these with more have the more lower impact. The only one that I really can find viable to use in the Crucible is Suros, as you can see, I mean, I'm getting gunned at range. I mean, if this is a pulse rifle or a scout rifle, I mean, I'm able to acquire kills from across this little stretch here. But by the time, you know, the range nerf kind of comes into effect essentially, and it's not really a nerf, it's just kind of how the game mechanics work. But, you know, by the time I get even downrange that far, even across that little stretch of hallway there, it's very ineffective. And at that far away, it's hard to accurately control this weapon. So I see quite a few people using this in PvP. However, I don't really recommend it. It's definitely not my style. It's, for me anyways, and not for the meta right now with the way these guns are in Destiny right now. Pulse rifles and scout rifles are definitely a better option. And, you know, as you can see here, I'm running with the Trials of Osiris machine gun. A lot of the times when I was using this in my matches today, I was kind of looking for an excuse as to why I should use this weapon in PvP. Just not really a whole lot of good came out of it. It was very hard to kind of chain kills. I mean, even in 3v3 where you're getting a lot of one-on-ones, maybe in a 6v6 playlist, you might be better off as far as in an objective match like Control or Iron Banner, because you can get guys kind of not paying attention and kind of grouped up. That might work out well with the chain lightning and everything and the double kills. But, you know, for the most part in regular Crucible 3v3 matches, stuff like that, even Clash, you're not going to have, you know, that mechanic to go off of. So in closing, very solid weapon in PvE. Recommend it, love it. Not so great for PvP. However, I'm going to leave you with the rest of this. And thanks for watching. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you on the next one. Later.